So I prepared little notes for you so that you don't forget the most basic commands we've used so far. I structured this in two parts: terminal commands and some basic JavaScript we learned so far. I'm using HackMD because in HackMD I can nicely format code snippets, while if you're using some, I don't know, Google Docs or Notion or whatever, I'm not sure if you can use the markdown language to format your code snippets nicely. So I would definitely recommend you to use HackMD. Okay, so first we have a link to the whole playlist to find all the videos in the future if you ever want to go back and check some old videos to remember a certain lesson. And then we have terminal commands. So all the terminal commands are wrapped inside of three backticks, bash, and then closed with three backticks. So all of this inside will nicely format everything the way it would look in the terminal. So if you want to write a command, you just write it. And then if you want to make like a little comment that would be ignored by the terminal, you can just make a hash sign. And then you can see that these parts become gray. So it's basically like a comment that you can do inside of the terminal. While in JavaScript, for example, you can see that the comments are behind two backslashes. So this is just like if you're making notes for yourself, this is how you do the terminal notes, and this is how you do JavaScript notes. A comment, basically. So, okay, so terminal code is inside of three backticks and bash, and JavaScript code is inside of three backticks and JavaScript, JS, and then also closed with three backticks. So let's see, what did we do here? So I wrote some basics, like how do you change directory? How do you list everything, all the files and folders in your current path? How do you change directory back, one level back, up? How do you clear the whole terminal? How do you check your current path? PWD. So this will give you your current path. If you're inside of the input integer folder, this is what it's going to print, or something similar, depending on how your file structure looks like. This is to change directory to a certain folder, a certain path. Here is to remove certain folder, and here is to remove certain folder in a particular path. So you can try out, but just be careful, because this literally deletes a folder from your computer. So don't just play around with this. Then we have parts about committing and pushing to GitHub. Another thing is how, when we are locally developing, how we start a project. We run npm start, which is literally the same as npm run start. But for the start, there is like a shortcut that you can just do npm start. While for build, for example, you have to run npm run build, and this will build you a bundle.js. And in order to stop a server, you just type Control-C. Okay. And for JavaScript, we also made like some things like how do you create a variable, and how do you, for example, use JavaScript inside of a string, and how you concatenate or join two strings. So I can show you this later, but just one more thing. This markdown language is, like I said, very useful to make notes. Also, README and GitHub is using markdown, so it's really cool to be familiar with this. And if you want to learn how exactly it works, here is like a little cheat sheet on the HackMD. So just press the question mark, and you can see like some kind of little cheat sheet for markdown. Okay, so one last thing. If you are on any page, you can right-click, inspect element, and you will get to developer tools inside of Chrome. So if we open JavaScript Console, we can play around with JavaScript code. For example, we can copy this part where we create a new variable called x. So const x equals hello. So now if we just say what is the value of x, it prints hello. So now let's create a variable y. Const y equals world. And now if we print out y, we see that the y value of the y is world. So let's now make a new variable that will concatenate all of those x and y. So let's say const z equals x plus y. Let's see. And if we now type what is the value of z, we see that the value is hello world altogether, because this is how concatenation works. It just glues both strings together. But if we want to create a string with a space in, we can do it like this. We can say const, let's say C or A, const A equals, and then we use template literals, so backticks, and we say the value is x. So we're using JavaScript inside of the string. So we have to put the dollar, open curly brace, close curly brace, and x inside. Then we make space, and then we use the second one, which is y. So now it will basically create a new string where the first part will be value of x, so hello, then space, and then value of y. And space only because we really have a space here inside of the string. If we put them together, there won't be any space. But now because we want space, we make space, and the value of a should be hello world with a space. Okay, so here is where you can try out that kind of things. So, for example, these were the strings, so everything that is inside of the quotes. But we can also make a constant b is 3, and const c is 7. And if you make b plus c, what do you expect? Because it's a number, it will actually calculate it. So let's say const d equals b plus c, and it should be how much? 10. Yay! But there's another thing. If you would use this 3 and 7 not as integers, as real numbers, but if you would have them as strings, so under quotations, under quotes, how would this look like? Const e is 3, const f is 7, but these are not numbers, 3 and 7, but these are strings, 3 and 7. So if we concatenate them, const g is e plus f, we will not get a 10, but we will get 3, 7. 3, 7. This doesn't mean that this is 37. This is literally the same as here in Hello World. It just concatenated two strings. So I hope that's not too much. You can play around. Don't forget, this is always here in the browser. Right click, let me close and show you again. So right click and click inspect element and then select console. And then you can try out a little bit of JavaScript code. Okay, hope that's fun for you. Save this HackMD into your bookmarks, or even better, create your own notes so that you can write down all the comments and everything that you need to remember, so the way your brain works. So I will share this link, but I would encourage you to create your own notes so that you can also try out HackMD and Markdown language.